He's a good running back. He's a 3-down back. He stays on the field all the time. He can pass block. He can catch out the backfield. He does everything that the new age running back does. That you want them to do. Last year he had about 1,300 yards from scrimmage, I believe. The year before that, I think he had 1,000 yards, but he had over 1,000 yards rushing. He's had a couple of 1,000-yard rushing seasons, I believe. So he's in line to get paid. I don't know what his market value is, because you look at a guy like, and Melvin Gordon's been hurt, but when you look at a guy like Todd Gurley, for example, who just got immensely paid, Todd Gurley is now a player who might not, he's not going to live up to that contract. With the knee tendonitis, with everything that's going on, he's not going to live up to that contract, right? And so you got a Melvin Gordon, you got a Zeke, who's both arguing from that position, like, hey, this is the type of contract I should get, similar to Todd Gurley, similar to David Johnson, those type of players. And both of those type of players have been hurt, and they haven't really been worth the money. So it's going to be hard to figure out what their market value really is, because those two players have kind of messed up the market because they took that type of money and didn't live up to the contract, per se.
Yeah. And to that point with Gurley, he really set what it should be. And if you pay Zeke less than that, he's going to turn it down. If you pay him less than what the top guy is making, and he's the top guy, he's going to turn that down. Melvin Gordon, I think he'll end up staying on the Chargers. And also, you got to think how much money Le'Veon Bell lost. Okay, that is a lot of money. You start going into training camp, you lose money. You start going further along, you start losing more money. Then when you get into the season, the amount of money that he lost last year, I don't know with Zeke and Melvin Gordon if both of them or either one of them will be willing to do that. That's a lot of money you're losing. You're still on your rookie deal. I hope and pray that they manage their money, but you just never know what could happen during that time, or even if you're financially, if you're in the best spot to say, I can sit out for a whole year. Not a lot of people can do that. And to Le'Veon Bell, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. But did he get that massive payday that he truly wanted? No, he didn't. So if you want to follow that, you're going to end up going down a road that may not be beneficial or financially beneficial to you. So I think both of them. I think the Cowboys are going to make it right. Another story came out that their talks are quiet. At first, it was put out there like they were talking, but yesterday the story was that they are talking about a contract, but it's more so quiet now, and it's not going to be out in the media. And maybe that's what Zeke wanted. He just wanted to get a little bit of noise, bring some attention to the situation, and the Cowboys will address it accordingly. So we'll see who gets signed first, or if either one of them gets signed first.
The other part is this. The teams don't have to do nothing right now because they have this thing called a franchise tag that they can just tag Zeke and pay him like that and figure out, okay, you know what? We're not ready to make this investment yet. Let's see what he does. Like, let's see if he can stay out of trouble. Let's see these things and what you call it. For Melvin Gordon, it'll be interesting to see if the Chargers would actually even tag him, right? Like, would you want to pay Melvin Gordon the average of the top 5 running backs in the league? Do you want to do that? And that would, for me, that would demonstrate how much value he really has to San Diego. I know that Dallas would. I know Dallas would tag Zeke if they couldn't get a contract agreement with him. They're going to tag him. He's not going to walk like that. They would tag him, probably try to tag him twice, and then possibly trade him if they still couldn't get a contract with him. But Melvin Gordon is a totally different situation because, again, he's not Zeke. He's not the top running back in the league. And in San Diego ain't even. Are they a Super Bowl caliber team? I don't know.
No.
So you have that issue too.
Yeah, and with Zeke too, this is his 4th year. The Cowboys have already picked up his option, which means the Cowboys still have him for next year too. So if he decides to, whatever he decides to do, he's going to be technically under contract for another 2 years. And if he decides he wants to hold out, it's going to be for 2 years. Then that's a considerable amount of money. After that, then they can do the franchise tag because he was a top 5. He was a 1st round pick. So there's some decisions to be made on both sides. I believe that Zeke and Melvin Gordon will be on the field game 1 of this upcoming season. So we'll leave that there. So that's other NFL news. Deion Jones signs a 4-year deal with the Falcons, reportedly $57 million, worth $57 million. I wanted to get your thoughts on your team, which I may need a revamping on who your team is, being that
my Broncos, man, who's my Broncos, who I'm nervous. I have high hopes for the Broncos for some reason. For the simple fact that we have a defense. We have a defense that is top tier. I still think it is championship caliber defense. Ryan Lindsay was a nice surprise for us out of the backfield last season. I hope that he continues to build on that. We have some young wide receivers. We have some young, hungry players. My concern has been, since Peyton Manning retired, is the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And we got rid of Case Keenum. We traded him to Washington, and we signed Joe Crapo. Dude, for John Elway to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, I can also say that he is one of the worst talent evaluators at quarterback. He just can't get it right, man. We just can't get a quarterback. We drafted one that's going to start on the bench. More than likely, they said Joe Flacco is going to be the starter. That's the only reason he came over, was he was promised to be the starter. So he's our starter. I think Joe Flacco is washed. Anytime you get beat out by a quarterback who is a runner and not a passer, it just says a lot.
Yeah, true.
So I think he's washed. I see us maybe hitting 500. We're not a playoff team right now offensively. We're not a playoff team unless somehow Joe Flacco turns the hands of time back and actually can throw a mid, an intermediate pass once. Because his short game has never really been great. He's been a deep thrower. That's been his game. We don't really have receivers who go deep like that. We have, short to intermediate route runners. And so we'll see what happens. But I see us as like an 8-8 team right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Elway, this goes to the point that players that are good, quarterbacks that are good, do not always equal great front office guys. Now, he did get Peyton Manning on the tail end. Peyton Manning did help them win a championship. A lot of that was on the defense and also Von Miller. But Joe Flacco has never been a star quarterback. He's been a really good quarterback. He's been a quarterback that you can be excited about if you're a Ravens fan. People outside of Baltimore weren't really that excited about Joe Flacco. So he's coming over to the tail end of these years. They make a trade. They made a trade for him, and I don't get that how he is going to do anything different than anybody else on your roster, or how Flacco is going to lead them to anything more than what they already have now. And Elway is definitely, people in Denver. The owner of my company is in Denver, and they're all scratching their heads like, what are we doing? What is the direction of this team? You drafted the kid Drew Lock from Missouri. I mean, when you come to the NFL draft, he was overrated. He was highly touted. People were saying he went too high. We'll see what comes of it. But the Broncos have always been an interesting team because they have the defense, but most of the time the offense does not equal up to what the defense brings to the table. It only did for, half a year when you think about Peyton Manning or the time that he was there. So they're going up into training camp. Training camp, I believe, should be starting this upcoming week. Real quick on the Cowboys. Let me get my thoughts on the Cowboys. They have contracts lingering. I think the team's going to be good. Randall Cobb is a great pickup. Dak is going to be better this year. Very interested to see what Kellen Moore as the OC. I don't have a lot of faith in it. My expectations are so low. If they do remotely well, I'll be fine with it. And Zeke, the defense, which is better with Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch playing linebacker. I think the secondary is similar to what it was last year. D-line got better, added Robert Quinn. So I'm okay with the team and with the moves that they made this offseason. The biggest question is you got a new set of triplets, but how do you go about signing who and when? Amari Cooper, Dak, and Zeke. So that's really the biggest interesting part as far as the Cowboys go. But training camp starting next week. I wanted to just get the thoughts on our teams. We got Tyon Mack on the line. So one other thing before I let you go. The Joe Johnson's playing in the Big Three. He says he would love to come back to the NBA, which I think there's a team for him. I don't know if you've been watching the Big Three, so I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on ISO Joe and if you've been watching the Big Three at all this year.
Man, he's torching the Big Three, man. Come on. like he looks how it's supposed to look, right? When an NBA player is playing against kids, per se. He's a young guy that just came. I mean, not a young guy, but to them, he's a young guy, right? He's like a young guy in the Big Three who just left the league, right? And he is torching cats out there. And he's showing that ISO Joe is for real. He was for real in the league. And I do think that there's a team that he can come to, maybe the Warriors. We can always use another scorer who can create their own shot off the bench. So, I think it's great, man. It definitely brings some excitement to the Big Three. I have watched a couple of Big Three games. They're pretty cool. I like it. It's a good product. They have good viewership, good players there. And I like Joe Johnson. I've always been a fan of Joe Johnson since he started off in back when he was in Phoenix and back when he was in Boston. And Joe Johnson bounced around the league for a minute before he finally came into his own. So I've always liked Joe Johnson as a basketball player, and it'd be good to see him back on NBA roster. Maybe he'll get a call, later on in the season, somewhere around the All-Star break, something like that. Maybe the Lakers call him. That'd be interesting. I definitely enjoyed that. And seeing some of the younger guys, seeing some of the old players back playing basketball again.
Yeah, and Cube's got a great thing going, especially with with some of the retired guys that are coming over. Gilbert Arenas coming over. They've surpassed viewership beyond the WNBA, which that's an interesting story on a lot of fronts there. But you can tell that it is being successful, and I've been promoting it like crazy. It's coming in Dallas in August. That's my wife's birthday weekend, so I said I would be going, but I'm definitely not going to be there. I'm not even going to bring it up. If you're married, you know. If you're married, you're not going to be like, hey, babe, I know it's your birthday, but I'm going to go to the Big Three this weekend. See you later. That's not how that works. That's not how life works as a married person.
Yeah, you might not have a bed to sleep in when you come home, brother.
Exactly.
You might want to rethink that one.
Be knocking on the door like, hey, did you be calling the phone? Like, this could go straight to voicemail. Hey, did you change the locks? Because I can't get in for some reason. Not even answering the phone. But man, appreciate you. Saturday.